Hello everyone, my name is Zach, and this YouTube channel is going to focus on the basic realities of life. And by basic realities, I mean those essential truths of life that are fundamental to who we are and most important to our existence and well-being. And so, in particular, we'll be touching on worldview and gaining an awareness, big picture insight of this life and all that's happening. What is the meaning of this life? Why are we here? And what do we do with the awareness that we have, or what should our response be to the things that we know? So I want to touch on all these things throughout this video series, these YouTube videos that I'm going to post. And we're going to look at, first and foremost, what is reality? And we know reality basically as a cultural establishment, a physical reality in which people interact with one another, and we interact with other organisms or living things. And we see that there are rules that are set and authorities. In particular, we see first and foremost people that are in power and that make rules and that live by guiding principles and policies and laws, and that enact these laws for people to follow so that there can be order and functioning within society. So we learn about this reality as we get older, and we seem to come to a point where we adopt some sort of explanation of what is. And for some people, it is that atoms just happen to come together to create life in a highly complex but yet random way, in which eventually the randomness created order. So in other words, it was random, the collection or the bonding of atoms, and then over time that randomness created just the perfect combination of bonding that created life. It created the system of interacting atoms and molecules that created life as we know it. And it all happened spontaneously and randomly, just by chance, by a ridiculous chance. And that is what a atheistic scientific view would say of how we came to be and what this reality is and how it became what it is. And then others will attribute how we came to be to a higher power in the form of a supernatural being, a god or gods. And then there are others that maybe don't really think about it that much, or will deny being committed to either field, either option that we just discussed. And so our worldview includes this understanding of what is, in the sense of what higher power is at work, whether it's the higher power of science and all the chemical reactions happening in the perfect way to make life, or is it this higher being or beings that are influencing things to happen? And when I became an adult, I actually struggled with my own worldview and knowing the truth. And I had the sense of this higher being, this higher power out there. And what I mean by this higher power is, we all know that there's this transcendent, invisible cooperation or interplay of forces that are beyond us, that are greater than us. And we did not create them. We can only somewhat manipulate them, you could say, but we never are in total control of all that's happening around us because it's bigger than us as individuals. The system of life is larger than us as human beings. We didn't create it, and therefore it is something, there is something, some power beyond us that is greater than us in this reality. And so we can explain it away by either the scientific route, the agnostic route, or the theistic route of believing that there is a God or there are gods. And people will adopt one of those three. But as time went on, as I matured into adulthood, it wasn't enough for me not to know. I wanted to know the truth because I really felt like my life was purposeless. And so I had been brought up in a home that believed in God. And when I say God, I mean one God, the God. And I realized when I was around 24 that I didn't really believe in this God because I didn't really know who he was. So you could say I had a conviction that God was out there, and I believe that he revealed himself to me, and he does so to everyone through creation itself. And so when we look at the order that is in our society, even though you can say there's not a lot at times, or it is dysfunctional, or there's corruption, there still is this order of objects, object permanence, where objects are permanently in a place. Maybe your car, your house, the buildings you work at, the streets you drive on, they're always there. And then there are authorities that typically are managing those things or keeping them up, and along with that, the organizations that we're affiliated with or know of. And so we see this structure and order in the physical realities and in society itself that points to the need and the truth of structure and order. And not only just structure and order, but a fairly complicated system of inner working dynamics or energies of science. And that would be the natural elements of biology, psychology, chemistry, physics, all these things in nature that are happening to sustain life, to keep order, and to keep peace even, so that we can have peace as human beings. And so I see the justice in reality play out. I see the beauty in nature and how magnificent it is. And I'm reminded of how we as humans did not create it. And so it always is pointing to this invisible power that seems to be at play at all times in our reality. And then the interaction between people, we see the love that we have for one another, for friends and family, and how in sacrificing for one another, we find fulfillment and joy, and how we know basic right and wrong, and we know that there is good and evil based on how evil will affect us or how we would be harmed in a situation. We can relate to that same thing when someone else goes through it. We can sympathize with others. We can empathize with others. And because of that, we have this awareness of treating others the way that we want to be treated. So, this aspect of reality of treating others the way that you want to be treated is another indication of this guiding power or powers that are at B. And they beckon us into a greater purpose of living for others and being sacrificial rather than living for ourselves and being selfish. And so this pull toward doing what's right and knowing basic right from wrong is another aspect of reality that points to this higher power that's at play. And when you consider the view from an atheistic evolutionary perspective of us just coming from atoms and there being no God or gods that are behind it all, it really seems like this worldview of evolution being the right worldview, it falls apart because it doesn't make sense that we as human beings would sacrifice for others at the expense of ourselves. Because a central belief within it is Darwinism, survival of the fittest. And in Darwinism, it is a main drive to survive and reproduce. So to pass on your genes. And you can't pass on your genes if you're dead. And so it actually inspires a being to live for themselves, to look out for their own best interest so that they can survive and reproduce and carry on. And so the belief that we came from atoms only and that it's just a matter of doing what's best for you and not considering what's best for others is very shallow and I think an incorrect worldview, because we all are fulfilled when we love other people, when we sacrifice for others, when we have loving relationship with others. And so I eventually came to this realization that this worldview of Darwinism and coming from purely an evolutionary development of genes and molecules, I see it as incorrect and have come to believe that it's wrong because of how it doesn't make sense compared to a view of loving one another and believing in a good that transcends us. And when you look at psychology also will agree that we are happiest when we are in loving relationship with others, which requires sacrifice for others. And so, all in all, I think more in line with a theistic worldview rather than an atheistic or even agnostic, because this desire for sacrifice and for loving others in relationship is pointing to a higher power that is based in relationship and based in sacrifice, so that we as human beings are not fulfilled unless we are living up to a standard or moral guideline of love, of sacrifice. And maybe not just one standard, but a set of standards that relate directly to that, to sacrificial love and sacrifice. So in considering what worldview best matched this principle or set of principles of sacrificial love, I finally came to the realization that the basic beliefs of Christianity best correlated with the system of sacrifice and love that is most fulfilling to us humans. And I discovered it after reading the Bible on my own, especially the New Testament. It gave me the basic awareness of the worldview of which the Bible gives, in which we came from a creator who is perfectly good, who was, and always will be perfectly good and all-powerful and all-present, meaning present everywhere at all times. So my lens of what I will be working with, or my perspective on the various topics I'll be talking about in my YouTube channel, will be with the lens of Christianity. And this lens will be mostly biblical. Most of all that I believe will be biblically based. And I hope that even if you're not a Christian, you will consider my objective and rational approach to seeing these topics of life from a biblical worldview. I hope that you will have an open mind and consider that Christianity is the true best worldview, because it is a worldview of true love. And I will touch more on that in the future. But for now, I wanted to just lay out the basics of what this YouTube channel is going to be. It's going to be what I mentioned in the beginning as a building or consideration of our worldview. In other words, the essential realities of this life, our awareness of these realities, and how we should respond appropriately based on our awareness. And gaining, we'll also be gaining more awareness of the basic realities. And that includes myself. I don't claim to know it all. I just am curious to grow in the basic knowledge of the basic things of life. And so I hope that you will stick with me throughout the series of videos that I will be posting. And I hope that you will gain information that you find practical, useful, and enriching for your life as much as I will. And so please subscribe to my channel and share it with others that may be interested. And I look forward to talking to you and maybe even hearing from you in the comments below. So thank you very much for your time, and have a good day.